In the turbulent era of Sengoku Jidai, the Warring States period, Japan was torn apart by constant civil wars, shifting alliances, and the ambitions of powerful daimyo, warlords. One figure, however, would emerge from the chaos and unite the country under a single rule, ending the constant bloodshed and ushering in an era of peace that would last for over 250 years. That man was Tokugawa Ieyasu. Tokugawa Ieyasu's rise to power is one of patience, perseverance, and strategic brilliance. Born as Matsudaira Takechiyo in 1543, Ieyasu's early life was marked by hardship and danger. At just 6 years old, he was sent as a hostage to the Imagawa clan, a powerful family that dominated the region of Suruga. This was a common practice in feudal Japan, where hostages were used as pawns to secure alliances between powerful families. Ieyasu's fate could have been sealed as just another bargaining chip, but he would soon prove himself to be much more than that. During his time with the Imagawa, Ieyasu was trained in the arts of war and governance, learning the skills he would later use to claim power for himself. However, his path to leadership was anything but easy. In 1560, the Imagawa forces were destroyed at the Battle of Okazama by the up-and-coming warlord Oda Nobunaga, a ruthless and brilliant military leader. With the Imagawa clan's defeat, Ieyasu saw his chance. Rather than remaining loyal to the collapsing Imagawa, Ieyasu broke free and forged an alliance with Oda Nobunaga, a decision that would change the course of Japanese history. The alliance between Oda Nobunaga and Tokugawa Ieyasu was one of the most significant political moves of the Sengoku period. Together, they began consolidating power in central Japan, defeating rival clans and expanding their territories. But Ieyasu was not just a follower of Nobunaga. He was an astute and careful strategist in his own right. One of the key moments in his rise came in 1575 at the Battle of Nagashino, where the combined forces of Nobunaga and Ieyasu faced off against the fearsome Takeda clan. The Takeda were known for their elite cavalry, but at Nagashino, Nobunaga and Ieyasu used innovative tactics to defeat them. Nobunaga's use of muskets and organized volleys effectively neutralized the Takeda cavalry, and the battle ended in a decisive victory for the Oda-Tokugawa alliance. This victory not only weakened one of the most powerful rival clans, but also solidified Ieyasu's reputation as a formidable military leader. Despite their strong alliance, Ieyasu and Nobunaga had very different personalities and governing styles. Nobunaga was ruthless and often used terror to control his enemies, while Ieyasu preferred a more cautious and calculated approach. These differences did not lead to conflict, but they highlighted Ieyasu's patience, an essential trait that would later define his rule. In 1582, Ieyasu's world was turned upside down when Oda Nobunaga was betrayed and killed by one of his own generals, Akechi Mitsuhide, in the incident at Honnoji. Nobunaga's death created a massive power vacuum in Japan, and for a time, it seemed like chaos would return. However, Ieyasu remained calm. He immediately distanced himself from Mitsuhide and began to consolidate his own power, carefully avoiding the conflicts that erupted between other warlords who sought to claim Nobunaga's legacy. While other daimyo rushed to seize control of Nobunaga's former territories, Ieyasu aligned himself with Toyotomi Hideyoshi, another of Nobunaga's former generals who had quickly risen to power. Hideyoshi, known for his military genius and political acumen, continued Nobunaga's work of unifying Japan. Ieyasu wisely chose to submit to Hideyoshi's rule, knowing that challenging him directly would lead to unnecessary bloodshed. Instead, Ieyasu played the long game, carefully building his own power base in the Tokai region, while waiting for the right moment to strike. Hideyoshi's rule was marked by continued military campaigns, including invasions of Korea, but his death in 1598 left a young and inexperienced heir, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, in charge. With Hideyoshi too young to rule, a council of regents was formed to govern in his stead. Ieyasu was one of the 5 regents, but he quickly began to outmaneuver his rivals on the council. While some saw him as merely a protector of the Toyotomi legacy, Ieyasu had his sights set on something much bigger: the complete unification of Japan under his own rule. The final conflict that would determine the future of Japan came in 1600 at the Battle of Sekigahara. Ieyasu's forces faced off against an alliance of Western daimyo led by Ishida Mitsunari, a staunch supporter of the Toyotomi family. This battle, fought in the fog-shrouded valleys of central Japan, was one of the largest and bloodiest in Japanese history. Over 160,000 soldiers clashed on the battlefield, and for much of the day, the outcome remained uncertain. But Ieyasu's greatest strength was not his ability to win battles through sheer force, but his skill in reading the political landscape. During the battle, several daimyo who had initially sided with Ishida Mitsunari defected to Ieyasu's side, turning the tide of the battle. This strategic defection was no accident. It was the result of careful planning and negotiations that Ieyasu had made in the weeks leading up to the battle. With these new forces at his command, Ieyasu crushed the Western army and emerged as the victor of Sekigahara. The Battle of Sekigahara was not just a military victory. It was the culmination of decades of political maneuvering, alliances, and betrayals. With his enemies defeated, Ieyasu was now the most powerful man in Japan. In 1603, he was officially granted the title of Shogun, the military ruler of Japan, by the emperor. This marked the beginning of the Tokugawa Shogunate, which would rule Japan for the next 250 years. But Ieyasu's story does not end with his rise to power. As shogun, Ieyasu implemented policies that would ensure the stability and peace of Japan for generations. He moved the capital to Edo, modern-day Tokyo, and created a strict social hierarchy that placed the samurai at the top, while limiting the power of the daimyo to prevent any future rebellions. He also promoted foreign trade while carefully controlling the influence of foreign powers, particularly the Portuguese and Dutch traders who had begun to establish a foothold in Japan. One of Ieyasu's most important legacies was the policy of Sengoku, or closed country, which restricted foreign influence and maintained Japan's isolation from the rest of the world for over 2 centuries. This policy helped preserve Japan's unique culture and political system, but also kept the country out of the global developments of the 17th and 18th centuries. Tokugawa Ieyasu's rise from a young hostage to the most powerful man in Japan is a story of patience, strategy, and perseverance. His ability to navigate the treacherous waters of Sengoku Japan, form alliances with powerful figures like Oda Nobunaga and Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and ultimately outmaneuver his rivals, set the stage for the longest period of peace in Japan's history, the Edo period. His legacy as a unifier, a statesman, and a shogun continues to shape Japan to this day.